What is going on, fellow YouTubers? Welcome back, you guys. As you can see, we have the Axial Yeti. Guess what? It's done. The project is done. Not to say that, you know, I'm going to do some changes to it here in the future, but the ideas and the things that I wanted to do over this winter, I have finally completed it. And I gotta say that it definitely looks a hell of a lot better than I actually ever anticipated. When I first got the Yeti, it looked epic to begin with. Yeah, it had some flaws, it had some problems, you know, but when you're running on a 3S LiPo battery, you're bound to have problems anyways. So my whole goal with the Yeti here was pretty much to build up the suspension and to make it cosmetically look badass. And that was the whole point of this. I wanted to make it strong, durable, all while looking really good at the same time. So, and I'm pretty sure I've gotten to that point. And like I said, there's going to be things in the future that I might put into it later on. At that point, I'll make some new videos for it. However, for this project, Project Homewrecker is what I'm calling it. It's done. This is the final video for this build series. I know I'd said that last time, but I still need to do some wiring, and I had to change a few things in it in order to make it work more effectively for me. And I'll show you guys exactly what I mean here when we kind of get in, and I'll show you some of the changes I had to make since that last video. But first, I'll give you guys a nice, cool little 360 of this thing. This, I mean, the panels on this from Carter Fab Machine really are what make the Yeti, this Yeti, stand out. It's definitely one of the coolest machines I have ever built and or owned. You know, we get these giant Super Swamper tires from Proline Racing. That definitely adds a nice touch to this machine. Makes it look bigger, you know, more aggressive. And that's definitely the look I was trying to go for in this. You know, and then we have the RC4WD drive lights. That'll definitely help light up at night when I do some trail runs with this thing. You know, we beefed up the rear axle here with some STRC aluminum upgrades. You know, we got some Blue Monkey lower control arms. Let me flip this over. It's kind of heavy. Speaking of heavy, I actually weighed this thing the other night, and it actually weighs just under 9 pounds with the battery installed. So it's definitely something remarkable. That's for sure. So let me take the body clips off, show you guys really what's going on here, show you some of the things that I've changed out. Okay, so the first thing that I do want to cover is none of the electronics are actually changed in it. This is all the stock electronics in it. The stock Vanguard ESC, the Vanguard 3150 kV brushless motor, and I know in the build I had put in a coreless Savox servo into this. Well, in discovering the other night when I finally powered it all up and tested the whole thing out, I discovered that coreless servo just took up way too much power. It was actually cutting out the system. And even though I could have installed a BEC connector into it to help with that power output and stop it from cutting out, excuse me, I decided to just not go that route. And for right now, I threw back in the stock servo. Now, I know I had a problem with the stock servo to begin with. It felt a little weak to me, just from my experience from other trucks I've owned. I mean, when you're powering 3S on this and you got these big beefy tires, even the stock tires, it just seemed like it had too much, what is the word I'm thinking of? You know what? I can't even think of it. But it just felt like it didn't have the torque necessary for the wheels when it hit a bump. Bump steer. Got it. Yes. That's it. Bump steer. Just too much bump steer in it. And, you know, when trying to do a hard cornering, it just felt like it lagged. It was waiting for the front wheels to kind of slow down or something to be able to fully turn the wheels. I don't know. It just seemed a little weak to me. But hey, whatever, you know, I'll throw in a different servo at a later date. But for right now, it's still got the stock servo back in it. Kept it very clean. As you can see, we have the wires here for the ESC. These are just kind of going to be run anywhere that I can find room, really. The red wire that you see here, red and black wire, that is actually for the LED lights. The one on the front bumper, as well as I have a connector. Where did it go? Hold on, kind of got shoved down temporarily. There we go. So have a spare wire. Wow, why did that just get really dark? Sorry. Spare wire here, which actually will connect up into the body underneath that wire right here to power on these LED lights. Now these two LED lights are actually going to be powered off of a 3S LiPo battery. And for some of you that know, that 3S LiPo battery is the same one I use to power up the 6-inch Vanquish LED light bar on the SCX10. This little guy right here, 1800 milliamp 3S LiPo battery from Max Amps. It's a nice lightweight battery, and it actually fits. You guys take a look here. Alright, as you guys see, on that splitter for the wire here, which goes to all of them, I set up a Dean's connector. And right on top of the battery tray here, you have the cross brace that actually holds in the battery tray. Well, I had a little foam pad, if you guys can see that. A little foam pad with some Velcro in there. Now I got some Velcro on this side, and all I got to do, and there we go. I got a battery that'll sit right above the other battery, and that will actually power up those two lights. And it's easy. For when I'm running in the daytime, I just rip it off, and it's good to go. So, because those lights aren't going to actually get used all that often. They're just more for cosmetic. So that's the light bar. That's how I set that up. I got a Y splitter with that 3S LiPo, and it works great. And I'll actually hook them up here in a minute and show you guys what it actually looks like. Also, the other thing you guys may notice on this, the rear shocks. These are not the stock shocks. I actually changed them out the other day. These are the Axial Icon Shocks. Alright? I will have the part number for them in the description box so you can get them for yourself. I was not originally planning on swapping them out. I was going to leave them stock for a little bit. What I did discover the other day when I was just looking at this on the shelf before I started working on it is actually the passenger side. That shock right there was actually leaking. It was just sitting there right on the desk, and I noticed right on the lower control arm it was all wet, and it was all wet on the shock, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So I look at it, found out the cap was warped a little bit. So I said, you know what, time to replace. So I ordered those up, built the shocks, put 45 weight shock oil in it, and it seems to have nice smooth suspension, which I like, and it'll be a nice setup for that. So that's what I've done with that. So we changed the servo back to a stock, put on some new shocks in the rear, finished setting up the LED lighting, and then I just made some final adjustments to the steering, made sure everything was straight and whatnot. So that was pretty much it. Oh, and the last thing. Some of you guys remember me trying to make some scale look to it. I added some nitro fuel tubing to the tank here, the scale receiver box. That's actually more of like a gas tank. And I added a fuel tube in it. It came up and attached to the body right in the corner. Great, awesome, it looked cool. However, it just was not going to work for me. Because every time I tried to take off the body, I had to unscrew it in order to get the body to come fully off. So until I can come up with a better way to like just do a quick disconnect, I'm going to leave that hose off of there for right now. So, yeah, it looked cool. You know, it worked, but however, it just wasn't, you know, fully functional in a sense. Yeah, it still allowed me to lift the body up, but if I wanted to take it completely off, I'd have to unscrew something, and I just didn't want to go that route with it at that time. So that's pretty much it. So you guys are probably wanting to see all the LED lights in action, right? Let's hook up the battery to it and show you guys exactly what this thing looks like. Okay guys, so I dimmed down my studio lighting just to give you guys a little better idea of this. And I'm going to explain something to you guys here in a minute, but take a look. Alright, top light bar, bottom light bar. I'll shine right at you guys. This thing, as you guys can see, is actually pretty friggin' bright. I like it. This thing is going to look awesome. Now, take a look at the back. Alright, I can't say. Alright, we have the Gearhead KOH rear light setup. That actually looks pretty mean on it. Now, like I said, these two front lights, they're running off of the 3S LiPo battery. However, this rear light is also running off the system's 3S LiPo battery. Now, one thing that it did say when I was looking at this back light here before ordering it, is it said it may require a BEC connector because it can't handle the 3S LiPo battery. It's more for a 2S LiPo. But I said, you know what? Let me just test something. It's going through the whole system. So, in theory, at the time before I hooked it up, I was thinking the ESC actually has its own BEC inside of it. I wonder if that's going to help with the power output. So I said, heck, why not? Let's plug it all together and see if it works. So I have a 3S LiPo battery going in through the ESC, which in turn is a direct connection off the receiver into this light. Yes, it is working off of a 3S LiPo battery. When I play with the trigger and everything, there's no dim, no fade. So the BEC inside this receiver, inside of the ESC, is actually controlling this. So it works perfectly. Alright, so that's it, you guys. This is just one epic little monster. Very sweet. Alright guys, let me put it up on the stand. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I promise the weather is starting to look a little bit better here. The snow is finally melting, so as soon as I get a nice day, this thing is going to go out for its official test run. And I'm going to try to create one heck of an epic movie. Or at least try to anyways. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next RC Overload. See you later, you guys.